About bilateral symmetry. In the bilateral symmetry, axis is anterior posterior axis. Axis is anterior posterior axis. Okay. Next, plane, median sagittal plane. Median sagittal plane. That is, the plane passes through the middle part of the body. Sagittal plane. Sagittal means longitudinal plane, important plane. That is the plane divides the body into two identical parts, two equal parts, two equal right and the left parts. Okay. Next, body divides into two identical parts. One of the plane, that is the medial plane or the sagittal plane, longitudinal plane that passes through the single axis, that is the anterior posterior axis. Axis is anterior posterior axis. The body can be divided into two equal parts, two identical parts. The type of the symmetry is called bilateral symmetry. Which animal shows the bilateral symmetry? That animals are called bilaterally symmetric animals. Okay. Next, triploblastic animals. Triploblastic animals from the platyhelminthes to the chordates up to the high developed metazoans or the vertebrates. All the animals shows the bilateral symmetry. Okay, some amount of the exceptions also there. For example, in the gastropods, larva stage of the gastropods shows the bilateral symmetry, and when it is growth into develops into the adult form, that is loses its symmetry and shows the asymmetry. Next, students, another, if you observe starfish, which is belong from the echinoderms. Okay, that is the starfish at the larva stage, larva of the starfish, that shows the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry. And when it is develops into the adult one, that shows the pentamerous radial symmetry. Okay, if you observe. Next, animals more efficient in seeking food, locating mates, avoiding or escaping from the predators. From the predators, these are the animals shows bilaterally symmetric animals. These are easily escape from the avoiding from the predators. Okay. Next, another locating mates, where the mate is available, that is the location is easily observed by these animals. Next, seeking food, searching of the food particles is also easily by the bilaterally symmetric animals. Okay. Next, cephalization is available. These are all the activities performed by bilaterally symmetric animals by the presence of the cephalization in these animals. What is the meaning of the cephalization? Students, concentration of the nerve cells and the sensory cells, concentration of the sensory organs at the anterior part of the body, anterior portion of the body. That is called cephalization. Because of the cephalization, these are the animals respond more efficiently and quickly to the sense or stimuli which came from the outer surrounding areas of other directions or environment areas. Okay, students, if you observe, this is the fish belongs from the vertebrates or the chordates. Okay, if you observe, this is the plane, student. This is the plane. This is the plane. This is the plane, student. This is the plane is called median or sagittal plane. This is the sagittal plane, longitudinal plane, median longitudinal plane that passes through the single axis, central axis. Okay, it is the axis, students. It is the axis. Okay, it is the axis from the anterior to the posterior. That is, the axis is called longitudinal axis. Longitudinal axis. Okay, it is the median or the sagittal plane that passes through the longitudinal axis. Longitudinal axis. The animal can be divided into equal right and the left parts. Okay. Next, students, it is the another one of the plane, students. Another one of the plane. This is called transversal plane or cross section. Cross section. It is the plane, student. It is the transversal plane or the cross section. Another, students, this is the anterior part of the body. This is the anterior part of the body. Anterior part of the body where the nerve cells, sensory organs are concentrated mainly. That is the anterior part. And posterior, it is the posterior part, student. It is the posterior part. It is the posterior part. It is the anterior part. It is the posterior part. And student, it is the dorsal part of the body. It is the dorsal part, student. It is the dorsal part. Okay. Next, it is the ventral part. It is the ventral part. Okay, student, these are the different parts externally shows by the bilateral symmetric animals. Which animals shows the bilateral symmetry? These are the animals shows the head at the anterior portion of the body and tail at the posterior portion of the body. Students, there are total 3 types of the symmetry present in the animals. In this, first one is asymmetry. Asymmetry means animals does not shows the any type of the symmetry. Animal cannot be divided into two equal parts. Any plane that passes through the central point of the body, the animal cannot be divided into 2 equal parts, because that one is the animal does not have the definite shape. Okay, example, sponges and the adult gastropods. Students, and the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry. In this radial symmetry, axis is single. Okay, that is, the axis is called principal axis. Principal axis, that is oroarboreal axis. Oroarboreal axis. That is, the plane passes through the principal axis, oroarboreal axis. The animal can be divided into 2 equal parts. Which animal shows the radial symmetry? Cnidarians and the ctenophores. Cnidarians and ctenophores shows the radial symmetry. These are the animals available in planktonic form, sluggish forms and sessile forms. Okay. Next, another one is in this radial symmetry. Starfish belongs from the echinoderms. Adult starfish that shows the pentamerous radial symmetry, and larva shows the bilateral symmetry. And final one is bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry, in this plane is median sagittal plane, median longitudinal plane. Axis is anterior posterior axis. Okay, one of the plane that passes through the anterior posterior axis. Anterior posterior axis. The animal's body can be divided into 2 identical parts. Okay, that is, the symmetry is called bilateral symmetry. Triploblastic animals shows the bilateral symmetry. Diploblastic animals shows the radial symmetry. Okay, which animals shows the cellular level organization? shows the asymmetry. Okay.